Hello everyone, my name is Gary Branch and I've worked alongside historic keyboard instruments for about the past 20 years. I'm delighted to be sitting next to an early example of an English piano. Built in London in 1779 by a maker Frederick Beck, it's known as a square piano. Although if you look at the shape of it, of course it is not square at all, rather oblong or rectangular. Nevertheless, the name was derived because many of these makers, including Beck, were continental, mostly German, and therefore, in their translation to English, they got rather confused and the title square was derived. Nevertheless, this snappy title, square piano, has stayed with this family of instruments ever since. It's thought that the first instrument was built around 1766 by a maker called Zumper. Zumper was a great friend of the composer and musician J.C. Bach, known as the London Bach, and of his patron Queen Charlotte, who was able to grow the popularity through high society and the court. These early instruments are very much a simplified version of the invention that Cristofori made in 1700. The actual Cristofori action is very much that which we use in the modern piano today, obviously somewhat modified and refined. But these early square pianos are much more simplified, making them affordable and practical to make. And I'd like to take you on a little tour of the inside of the instrument to give you some idea of how they were made and the detail and the delicacy of these fine little instruments. Well, here we are looking into the bass end of the instrument, and you can clearly see the hammers coated in their little leather jackets here, and these are the damper levers here, and you might even be able to make out the little white felt ends under the rowel of the dampers further up. So I'm going to first of all show you how simple this action works. It's literally flicking the hammer onto the string when we press the key. It's much more simplified than Cristofori's invention or how the modern piano works, but nevertheless it's very effective and enabled these instruments to be made. You can see it going up there and down. So also we've got at this end of the instrument some levers. These two here raise and lower the dampers, just in the way the sustain pedal does. However, this lever operates the bass end of the instrument, this one the treble. So you can just dampen one end of the instrument or the other for effect. And certainly because it's worked by levers and not by a foot pedal, the way that these would have been used was very different to the way we use the sustain pedal today. Underneath we have something called the buff stop. This is a leftover from the harpsichord family, where you place a piece of cloth up under the strings, or it could be felt, and it mutes the sound. It was a device that was well liked on 18th century harpsichord family instruments, and I think it was probably applied to these early pianos because it was such a popular device. Well, very briefly, we're here on the right hand side of the instrument at the treble end of the instrument, where we have the soundboard, this area here. The beautifully handmade, each very slightly individually shaped pins which hold the strings for tuning, which are banged into the rest pank below. We have the bridge and of course the strings. Very, very much finer than on a modern instrument made of iron and brass. Well, I'd now like to introduce you to the sounds created by the three levers on the left side of the instrument. I'm going to raise the damper rowels so that you can actually hear the instrument undamped. It's clearly how people would have heard and played the instrument due to its design, and they must have enjoyed the haze and wash of sound that was created. I leave it to you to decide whether you like it or not, but I think the sound is nevertheless very intriguing. Secondly, I'd like to introduce you to the buff stop. I'm going to play a few little chords and see what you think of the sound of this little device. Well, I'd like to conclude my talk and demonstration by playing you a suitable piece of music that would have been written for a square piano like this. Obviously, they became very popular for people in their homes, and they wanted to play popular tunes on them, tunes that they readily recognised. And composers incorporated these tunes into classical forms of the day, such as theme and variation and rondo form. Obvious example of this would be Beethoven's theme and variations based on God Save the King. Here I have a very popular tune of the day, Oh Dear What Can the Matter Be, as a rondo composed by Dussek. I hope you've enjoyed your little tour of this wonderful little instrument and enjoy the sounds that it can make.